Hi friends, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about the work of Peter Stout, but first, look at this. Wow, isn't it lovely? So I have a big video project that I'm working on, and it called for set design. More set design than I've ever done before, and this is the result. We have a shelf, we have light strips on the back of the shelf, on the back of the bars, we have plants, we have this light here from IKEA, which I love, and we have a 60 by 40 inch print of one of my New York City photos, and it's awesome, and it's massive, and the story of getting it printed was hilarious. So that's it. Here we are. With all of that said, let's talk about Peter's photos. So Peter is a very talented film photographer who takes photos on the beaches of North Carolina. And so we're gonna look at his photos today and see what we can learn. First, let's take a look at this one. Oh, and also check this out. I have a new tool today. Oh yeah. So we're moving on. First, I wanna take a look at this photo. This is probably one of the most beautiful photos on his feed. We have a lighthouse, dead center, very symmetrical photo. We have some nice black and white repetition here. And then we also have it repeated in this house here. Once again, symmetrical, nice centered situation going on here. We also have some blurry clouds here, and I might get a little crazy with these arrows, by the way, so we just do that right there to see so we have some blurry clouds. My guess is that there was a long exposure involved in this photo, so it really adds a nice dreamlike quality to things. Very nice. Next we have this photo, which is the same scene but from a bit of a different angle, and something that I've noticed that Peter is really good at is squeezing the lemon, finding different angles of the same scene and doing it well. In this case, we have the lighthouse, but now this house is a little bit to the left, and we have sort of like a cross-shaped composition here. He's using a small body of water or a big puddle, whatever you want to call it, to reflect the scene. So this repetition that we had on the lighthouse and on this house is now being repeated again upside down. So we have more repetition. We have repetition of the repetition. Very thoughtful, nice centered horizon here. Quite nice. Now this is an interesting photo. It doesn't really establish as strong of a subject as these photos do, right? But I would argue that the subject is this right here. This patch of grass that is well lit and centered. Because of those two things, it takes on the visual weight in the photo. We also have some repetition with the grass patches and the dunes, smaller dunes, these little ripples here. I mean, these bigger dunes are just bigger versions of the smaller dunes. So, subtle repetition happening here. Beautiful sky, beautiful light. He always seems to go out and shoot a beautiful light. I think that's something we can all learn from. Then we have this one. Now, this house is it has a lot of character. I mean, I don't know if it's actually a house. Building has a lot of character, and it also has a zombie apocalypse watchtower on top. Trust me, those are really hard to find. I have looked on Zillow and Airbnb. Not easy to come across. So, but it also adds some character to this building here. And then we have some symmetry. Check the symmetry out with the three. We have a group of 3 windows here, symmetrical, but also a group of 3, right? And we have triangles. We have all sorts of shapes, like triangle here on the roof, triangle up here on top of the zombie apocalypse watchtower, group of 3 windows here, group of 3 windows here. Very nice. And it's dead center in the frame. He likes to do these rather centered horizons. It's in a sea of sand dunes. Very interesting scene. Once again, very beautiful light. Nice use of black and white. I like. So then we have this one, and this scene is another scene that's a bit less of a stunning scene as some of the other photos we've been looking at. But I would argue that, well, first off, I think it's a fine photo. But I would argue that the subject of this photo is actually this fish right here. Something that's really interesting about this photo that I noticed is that we have a path coming from this way, a path coming from this way, and a convergence point in the middle here on the fish and on this pier building. So I think that's quite interesting. It's something that makes sense of how this photo works visually and why it's an interesting photo, or I think it's an interesting photo at least. Then we have this one. We have a beautiful beach scene, beautiful light. I'm gonna guess this is evening light because the sun is not out here. We're on the East Coast, and the sun would be here if it was in the morning. So we're gonna guess evening light. And then we have a pier This is a questionable pier. That's what we'll call it. Very questionable pier, but also a pier with a lot of character. And the structures that are in his photos tend to have a lot of character, and I love that. And this seems like just such an interesting area. Then we have, once again, some blurring occurring. And I think that this, once again, has to do, I'm looking at the neighbors with their dog being distracted. This, once again, has to do, I'm going to guess, with a long exposure. And it really makes things feel elegant and dreamlike. It feels like a painting. It gives a sense of motion. Very good stuff. Horizon line, once again, right across the middle. He likes to do this a lot, and it's done very well. And I also think it's interesting how the pier comes in from the left and stops right around the left vertical rule of thirds line. Something to think about. And also, would it work if it came to the center? I think it would. With this one, really what I want to focus on is, one, the colors, because really beautiful film tones. I love that that's another theme in all of his work. You can see he tilted his camera down to accentuate the interesting part of the photo. This is a good thing to do if you're in a scene and you're not really sure how to make things work. It's not quite communicating the uniqueness and the pleasantness of whatever you're experiencing around you. A lot of times if you pan down to accentuate the thing that's interesting, or even maybe go up, there's something interesting in the sky, accentuate the interesting part. That will help you out. Now this one's a very interesting scene, and his compositions are a little bit hard to pin down. I have a hard time making sense of them, and this is no exception. I will say that we have a line coming in, not a line, a path coming in. There is a line on the screen now. A path coming in from the left here, and then we can go up here, right? So we can kind of flow through the image in that way. And so it's a good idea to think about visual flow, and it's done nicely here. Then we have these very interesting buildings over here. Once again, we have a motion blurred ocean. Beautiful light. The fences, I think, are quite interesting as well. They have a lot of character. And I love that these beaches are empty. Like, how is he doing this? I'm not sure there's anybody on his feet at all. So I really want to go to these beaches. They look fun. Where's that? Oh, one of the things I noticed that drives me a little bit bananas about this photo is this right here. There is a balcony poking in from the left. Now, I'm going to cut him some slack because he shoots film. If it were me, I would have cropped this balcony out, even if that means pushing in a little tighter and even cutting off some of this blue house here, because I'm not a huge fan of that personally. But with that said, not a major thing. It's still a great photo, I think. And I decide which photos are good. This is a great example of stacking elements in a photo to make it more interesting, I think. We have this boat here. I don't need to point to everything. We have this boat here, right in the foreground. We have some symmetrical posts happening. We have some beautiful light hitting the boat. And then in the background, we have a dock going out, and then a house or whatever. I'm not sure what these are used for. A structure. And then behind that, we have the sun. So we have layers of intrigue. And then we also have this nice little touch of this sailboat over here. Good stuff, Peter. Good stuff. So in this scene, we have a sea of sand dunes. Very beautiful. Looks like a great place to hang out. Looks like this is an introverted place, and I want to be a part of that. This would probably be pretty difficult to take a bad photo of, but he's done some things here that are pretty interesting. One, he has taken a photo when the light is very nice. Once again, I think we're looking at evening light. Because of that, we have this nice definition on the and color contrast on the dunes. We have some warm tones hitting this on the left side, and then we have some blue shadows happening. So that and the light is very soft and elegant, feels good. Then we have this grass acting as sort of like a depth maker for the photo. This is a great example of a photo that really works as a subjectless photo, a general environment shot. Next we have this one, a very strange looking beach. Just kidding, I kid. This is taken in Wyoming, and we have a barn here with some beautiful warm wood tones on the front of it and all around it. I suppose. I mean, I don't see the back, but that's what I'm going to guess is what we see on the front is probably on the back. Lots of character once again. And we have the mountains in the background, a very blue scene and white scene. And one thing I want to take note of is that the mountains and this little point on the barn here match. I think that's so interesting. This is beautiful. The color contrast and the accentuation of the barn because of its warmness against the coolness in the background is really fantastic. This photo feels, I mean, this is definitely a printable situation we have here. Then we have this photo. This looks like a morning scene. I just love the warm tones in this. This is spectacular. I love the clouds in the sky, how it's just taken over with warmth. You can feel the morning, you know? I've had times in my life where I get up this early in the morning and I get to experience this type of feeling. You can just feel it oozing from this photo. I love it. Now, the light is an important part of this photo. It would be very different if this was taken in the evening. The front of this building would not be lit up the way it is. So this scene would change as the day moves along. Cha-cha-cha changes. Look at this one. I love this photo. It has a very ethereal, dreamy kind of quality. And I think there are some reasons for that. One is the very soft light. And we can see that the light's coming in from this way, from the right. You can see it in the shadow here. We have very still, calm, and quiet and gentle waters, so not seasick inducing. Beautiful reflection of the scene. So we see this repeated kind of like from the earlier lighthouse photo, this sort of technique being used. And then as we look down the middle of the frame, we see the horizon, or we don't see the horizon because it sort of blends into this off-whiteness and you can't really see where the horizon is. And I think that's a big part of what we're getting here. This photo is terrific, and look at the bird. And finally, I want to mention this collage. He has several of these on his feed, and I think it's a great way to take a bunch of photos and put them together. That's it. Thanks for watching. When you put photos together, they begin to relate to each other, and they can often elevate the individual photos in new ways. Collages are often good places for photos that don't really work on their own. So in this case, this is a fine photo, but it doesn't have the same singular strength as this photo on the left. And so because we have these photos relating with each other, we have a narrative being told, and it's more comprehensive. When you put photos together like this, you can create a more comprehensive and three-dimensional narrative than you can with one photo. I mean, look at this photo. This is like a texture shot of grass, and you can see how it relates to all these other photos. It's almost like a film, right? Except with the film, you're moving through the flow of the film, these individual shots being stitched together. In this case, we have a bunch of frozen moments that are relating together. And you can also see, once again, how he photographed this scene up top here from a different angle and squeezed a lemon once again. So, very good. Sometimes put your photos in a collage or a gallery. But with all that said, that's it for this one. I do hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it inspirational, helpful, and that it caused you to smile at least once. I hope you had a smile today. And if you had a laugh. My work is done. I have enjoyed your presence today, and if you enjoyed mine, there's a like button for that. And if you want to see more of my videos, there's a subscribe button for that. Also, I do have a Lightroom preset collection, and links below to that. And if you want to check that out, I would totally appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely day. Goodbye. Adi.